Good afternoon, RocketMill. Now, last time I presented to you, I mentioned that we're going to be doing a big exploration into voice search. Now, that doesn't quite start today, but I have got a little bit of fun before we get going as a prelude to our research into voice. To tie together something fun which happened at the office with the latest industry trends. So today I'm going to be asking, OK Google, can you beat RocketMill in a pub quiz? Now, a few days ago, we had our second ever Pocket Rocket pub quiz. That's the pub which we transformed this office into. It's a great fun evening, or I think so at least. You'll come along and nod and play along, and I'm very grateful for the attention. But nonetheless, we did have a team who came out on top in our pub quiz, which was this motley crew. We had John, we had Joe, we had Jack, Carmen and Neil, or as they were known on the day, Kim, John, Joe, Jack, Carmen, Neil. And they won with a score of 61 out of 100, which was good, but not perfect, and I'm sure they would have done better if they'd been allowed to cheat. And that got me thinking, can voice search cheat at a pub quiz? Can Google voice search beat humans at a pub quiz with pub quiz questions? Now, obviously, if this was just surfacing the answers somewhere in the results, Google would win very easily. It is a comprehensive, it knows everything. It knows your inside leg measurement pretty much. And so it would have been far too easy. So I came up with some rules to keep it competitive. So our rules were, we used round 1 from a quiz, which was 10 general knowledge questions themed around love. RocketMill, 1 point for each correct answer as they did on the day. Google, 1 point for a correct answer if it was able to read it aloud when I asked for Google App It on my iPhone. And it only earned half a point if it gave a correct answer somewhere above the fold on my iPhone screen. So let's see what the questions were and see how Google, and indeed RocketMill, got on. The round was called Love is in the Air. Incidentally, this is a stock photo. To learn why stock photos are terrible and why I'm a terrible person, please click here. Round 1 was called Love is in the Air. And I asked Romeo and Juliet, William Shakespeare's tragedy about two star-crossed lovers, is set in which country? The answer was Italy. It was set in Verona and Mantua in northern Italy. Question 2. Technically a fruit, which salad item was once known as the love apple, allegedly because of its aphrodisiac qualities? Hope you're playing along. You don't normally get this in your LinkedIn feed. The answer was tomato. Question 3. In the sitcom Friends, Ross famously said the wrong name during his wedding vows, but who was his furious fiancée? And the answer was Emily Walton, played by Helen Baxendale, who you might recognise from Cold Feet. Question 4. What gift is traditionally given to celebrate a 40th wedding anniversary? The answer, quite simply, ruby. Question 5 was which 1999 film contains the line, don't forget, I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy asking him to love her. And it was said by Anna Scott, played by Julia Roberts, in Notting Hill. Question 6. Henry VIII famously married 6 times, but who was his last wife, widowed upon his death in 1547? The answer, Catherine Parr. And there she is, what a cutie. Question 7. Je älskar dig translates as I love you, from which European language? The answer to that one was Swedish. Question 8 was almost 2 decades before Whitney Houston's version, who wrote and originally recorded I Will Always Love You? The answer was Dolly Parton. Question 9. Love in the Mist, Love in Idleness and Love Lies Bleeding are all types of, the answer, as you all know now, was flower. And there they all are. So we had Nigella Damascena, Viola Tricolor and the red amaranth on the far right. And the final question, if a person is born on Valentine's Day, what is their star sign? Quite simply, it was Aquarius. So let's take a look at our winning RocketMill team's answers from round 1 of the pub quiz. How did they get on? Not too bad. So we got beetroot instead of tomato, Bridget Jones instead of Notting Hill, and Anne of Cleves instead of Catherine Parr. So a total of 7 out of 10. OK Google, are you able to beat us in the pub quiz? Let's take a look. Here are Google's answers. They did better on the first 5, indeed the first 6, but they didn't recognise my, to be fair, fairly cod pronunciation of Swedish. They thought it was Portuguese. They couldn't get past Whitney Houston as the singer of I Will Always Love You, and they said plants, not flowers, for which I docked half a mark. But they still were in the lead at this point with 7.5 out of 10. But I said at the start that I only gave a full point if it was able to read the answer aloud. What happens if we dock half a point on those answers where Google was unable to do anything more than just surface it above the fold? The answer? Their score is halved because Google was completely unable to give a voice search answer for any single one of these queries. Now the takeaway here is that Google knew all of the facts and it could read them aloud, but it didn't because of the complicated wordings therein. So let's see what happens when we simplify some of those questions for more core information. So firstly, which fruit is known as a love apple?
Here's a summary from the Christian Science Monitor. Tomatoes were thought to be an aphrodisiac, hence the name love apples. The Italians named the fruit pomodoro, meaning golden apple.
So you can see how stripping out the supplementary information, Google absolutely knew the answer. Another example? What gift is given for a 40th wedding anniversary?
According to the Spruce, the ruby anniversary is a special one. Spending 40 years together, there is a great reason to celebrate. Here are some 40th wedding anniversary ideas and symbols to help you choose gifts associated with your 40th ruby marriage anniversary that will be both personal and meaningful.
Now, there are several takeaways here. Firstly, the only difference in that query and the question which I asked you guys during the quiz is the word traditionally. What gift is traditionally given is what I asked you humans, and what I asked Google, I just took out that one word and it was able to give a very comprehensive answer. Secondly, always with the sales Google, I mean, come on guys. This shows how with the right copy you can turn voice search into basically radio advertising. It's a fantastic platform. But you do have to have your organic and your paid search strategies connected to one another. Can anyone spot the deliberate mistake given the information you've just heard and the information you can see in the screenshot?
Why would you buy someone a hammer?
Okay, firstly, you probably wouldn't buy an engraved wooden hammer unless you're a terrible, terrible husband. But secondly, exactly where is it reading it from? We have ads for personalised gifts, gettingpersonal.com. I just love it. And we have Not on the High Street as the first above the fold traditional ad listing. What we don't have is the information which we had in that featured snippet. Let's have a look at that same search on desktop. We can see how the spruce.com have earned this fantastic result, and they'll have a great click-through rate, I'm sure, on desktop. Instantly, I've removed the ads here just to move them up a bit so you get a feel for how dominant they are in terms of just pure organic. But they didn't pay to list on mobile amongst the Google shopping results. So despite all that great messaging, they're not going to have a high click-through rate on mobile. Everyone's going to be going to competitors. So it's wasted. So there we go. Tie up your paid search and organic strategies, even if you're dealing with voice search. Let's have a look at another query. So this time, who was Henry VIII's last wife?
Henry VIII was married to Catherine Parr, Catherine Howard, and 4 others.
Okay, so voice recognition not too bad. It missed out on the 8ths, but I can understand that. I am a bit lispy. It understood my query well enough, but not the context of last. So that goes to show that Google needs to learn a few more contextual words, a few more prepositions, pronouns, and so on, I guess. One final example for you, and this one I think is particularly interesting. So this is who originally recorded I Will Always Love You.
I Will Always Love You was recorded by Whitney Houston.
Poor form, Google. It fails to recognise that a song can become famous with more than one artist. So it can't get past the fact that Whitney Houston, it knows in its knowledge graph, is who sings I Will Always Love You. Let's try flipping that query just slightly and going instead for who wrote I Will Always Love You.
The lyrics of I Will Always Love You were written by Dolly Parton.
So you can see how, because she's the lyricist in the knowledge graph, she gets the answer that time. Goes to show you just really do need to understand the search real estate around your industry if you want to make voice search work for you. So, all right, this has been a bit of fun, but I do have some takeaways for you. Firstly, keep the language on your website simple if you want voice search to work. It works best when it can find a very close match for a question within the body of a page. And to leverage voice search, you need to make your language very easy to parse, and your users are probably going to thank you for that as well. Our second takeaway, if you have a feature snippet and are the authority answer on voice search, that's terrific, but you still need to make sure that organic and paid are tied up, as this simple experiment has shown. All I think Spruce would have gained for that search is a few more impressions in Search Console. And finally, and I think most importantly here, RocketMill knows more than a search engine, and I think we can all be very proud of that. And so, just to conclude, on the day, we gave out the prizes, but one was missing. Our trophy hadn't turned up. The master engraver who we sent it off to have failed to get it back to us on time. So I'd like to invite the newest member of the winning team, that's Joe Buzzard, to come forth and claim the trophy on behalf of Kim Jong Jack Joe John Neil, whatever the heck you were called. Your trophy, sir.
Thank you, Chris.
You're very welcome. Thank you.